Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. In the last part we finished our explorations of the ocean for now before going into the seafloor cavern, kicking Team Aqua's ass out of it in the process. But unfortunately, Archie did his thing and Kyogre's now unleashed and torrential downpours across all of Hoenn that threatened to drown the world. But Maxie alongside Steven told us to meet them here in Sootopolis, so we're here right now. Notably, you can talk to a lot of the NPCs that are actively from Sootopolis here, but because of the plot events going on right now, you actually can't get many of the items. For instance, that Poke Nerd there with the backpack on the top right of the screen right now actively does have an item for us, but we can't get it until we've finished what we're here for. With that said, because we're coming up on a legendary fight of some sort, I'd recommend stocking up on Ultra Balls up to a flat amount just so you have a good chance of actively doing what we're there to do. And if it's more your speed, having a quick ball or two from Full Arbor Town and Dusk Ball or Dive Ball could also go a good distance here, I believe. Kyle, so you did come. I've been waiting for you. What terrible rain. It feels as though the entire world will be washed away. Ah, yes. You need to hear what my friend has to say. My name is Wallace. I'm this town's gym leader. I've also been entrusted with the protection of the Cave of Origin. This downpour is being caused by a power emanating from the Cave of Origin. That's the red orb. I see. Follow me. This rain. People and Pokemon need water to live. So why does this rain fill us with so much dread? The rain clouds massing over Sootopolis keep building. Soon they will extend over all of Hoenn. If that were to happen... Team Aqua and Team Magma. We have been expecting you. Archie, I'm going to hand over that thing we developed to this kid. Alright? Yes. The Aqua Suit. Take it. This super high-performance protective suit was made with the combined technology of the Devon Corporation and Team Aqua. We actually prepared it in anticipation of coming into contact with Kyogre. I'll just leave it with you. But, even if you put that thing on, do you really think you'll be able to make it all the way down to where Kyogre waits? The energy overflowing from this shrine is certainly much more powerful than we had anticipated. Its influence is making the current grow stronger. There is nothing to fear. The red orb he bears, its ancient powers will protect both the boy and his Pokémon. So that's it. Now that you mention it, I do remember the elderly couple of Mount Pyre saying such. The blue orb is capable of releasing Kyogre's full power, and reverting it to its primal form. While the red orb has the power to quell that flood of power. Yes, the energy overflowing from the Cave of Origin just now. It is the very energy that gives Kyogre its power. With the red orb, which contains the power to suppress that, it should be possible to calm the force of this great flood. Of course, the red orb's power alone will not lead you to where Kyogre waits. You will not reach Hoenn's core that way. Use the suit that you were just given. With that, it will finally become possible to stand up against the forces of nature. Kyle, to think that you had the red orb. You'll be okay. You and your Pokemon can handle it, whatever happens. I believe that. No man or woman from Sootopolis is permitted to enter the Cave of Origin. But you must go, together with your red orb. You must go regardless of what awaits you inside that cave. We will also work to mobilize our team members and offer help to the people in Pokémon who are suffering most due to this disaster. Now is the time when we must all simply do the best we can within our own chosen roles. And you, child. No, you are not acting as a mere child today. Trainer, I'm sorry to say that we have put the greatest burden on your shoulders alone. But I trust you to take care of this. Sorry. I'm begging, so save us, the world, and Kyogre. Kyle! I heard on the news that things were going haywire around Sutopolis. Then I saw you on BuzzNav, Kyle. I couldn't just sit there and do nothing when I knew you were here in the thick of it, so I came flying. But isn't that Team Aqua and Team Magma? Okay, can I just say that I am, like, shocked and confused on so many levels right now? This is probably something way bigger than I can even imagine, isn't it? So I'm not even going to ask right now. I'm going to try and find out what I can do to help, and then I'm going to do my best with that. And I'm going to keep on hoping and believing that you'll be okay out there, Kyle. Because you're the best friend that I have. I won't lie, it is definitely a little weird in a post-Scarlet and Violet world have the game take such a dramatic twist here in its third act, effectively. Because thinking about it, this is the first time they really tried to do something like that in the series. Because outside of spin-offs, at least, with Kanto and Johto, their Team B plot is very vanilla, box standard, stop the villain with some stakes, yes, but it's usually more personal stakes or, oh, they're going to be a little corrupt and continue to be evil. Starting in Hoenn, moving forward in the series, the team plot usually does get to be, region or world devastating consequences if things don't go according to plan. But I won't lie, I do appreciate them actively starting to go that direction in Hoenn. I don't think Hoenn's the best execution of it at large. That's probably, honestly, to me, Gen 5 on the whole, maybe Gen 7. But outside of that, maybe also Gen 8. We'll get more into that as we go through the series. Welcome to the Cave of Origin, though. This is not much of a subject, it's more a linear path for atmosphere. Worth noting, though, if you're going for Pokédex completion or want to add 2 specific Pokemon to your team for one reason or another, this is probably the best place to catch them in the game. Specifically, there's only 3 Pokemon you can encounter randomly here. Golbats, which is the most common encounter, but you can also run into Sableyes and Mawiles here. And I talked up especially Mawile earlier on. Sableye, I don't even think I've talked about the Mega Evolution yet, so I probably should relatively soon. But compared to their encounter rates over in Granite Cave, which is about 20% each, they're at about the 30% mark here, which, hey, if you wanted to add one to your team as late as we are in the game, perhaps the best place to do so, technically? At least in terms of the time invested in trying to catch them ultimately. I hear you, Kyogre, I'm on my way down. Also worth noting, the Cave of Origin here is a bit of an oddity in Pokemon Emerald specifically, because as I mentioned throughout the LP, largely Emerald only added or made areas larger in the case they changed areas at all. Except the Cave of Origin. There's unused maps for it there that are more in line with the ones from Ruby and Sapphire, but you enter, I think, the first room and a half, 2 rooms of this area in Emerald, and then leave and can never go any deeper. In fact, you can't even re-enter it if memory serves. Just kind of an oddity compared to the rest of the game like that over in that specific version of Hoenn. Also, I save here. You can wait about a minute and a half before needing to actively save before what's coming up. You got a little more time. Kyle, change into the Aqua suit. I look silly. you can hear a voice from within the Aqua suit.
Hey, you read me, little scamp? Aye, it's me, Archie. There's a device built into that suit that lets me talk to you. We're getting readings up here that looks as though Kyogre's appeared. I'd guess you're staring right at it, if I'm not mistaken. Don't be afraid, scamp. You leap right onto that beastie's back. Then let it take you to the deepest part of the Cave of Origin.
Now this is where you should save. Also, not for nothing, while I love Kyogre more, Groudon's definitely more useful in that scene because he's taking you through lava, same with the suit, compared to just deep water pressure. Meet the Alpha. This is Primal Kyogre. With that said, it's also normal Kyogre. Kyogre in both instances is a pure water type, so it's weak to grass and electric. Normal Kyogre has a really good HP and attack stat, but its special attack and defense are nuts, and while its defense and speed are its lowest stats, they're just quote-unquote low for legendary standards. Meanwhile, Primal Kyogre here is effectively a Mega Evolution that just has a unique Mega Stone through the blue orb. In Mega Evolving, Kyogre gains 50 physical attack, 30 special attack, and 20 special defense. This thing's powerful. Kyogre's normal ability is Drizzle, which summons the same rain as Rain Dance, but prior to Gen 6 it was a little bit different in that it was permanent unless another ability overrode it. Nowadays though, it's just the standard 5 turns like with Rain Dance. With that said, Primal Kyogre instead gets Primordial Sea. It's a heavier rain that not only still does the usual boosts of rain, but it causes all other weather-related moves to fail outright, and any damaging fire-type moves will also fail. Not that you should really throw out a fire-type against Kyogre as it is, because get this, powerful water legendary, but worth noting all the same. You can either defeat Kyogre or Groudon here, or catch them. I'd recommend catching them just in general. Worth noting, when you actively do catch Kyogre, they're the other Pokemon that Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire made faster when it came to surfing. So if you're trying to actually move around faster in the overworld, technically not a bad idea to have a Kyogre if you didn't go for a Sharpedo. But speaking of Groudon, let's talk about them. Groudon, despite being themed around lava and all that, is actively not a fire type. They're a ground type. However, Primal Groudon is a fire ground type. So that means normal Groudon is weak to water, grass, and electric, but immune to electric. Meanwhile, Primal Groudon is weak to ground and water, but immune to electric. That's it. It is a 4 times weakness to water, which can be definitely a little bit haphazard. Or at least, it would be if it wasn't for one specific little caveat to that I'll get to in a moment. Standard Groudon's a really good physical attacker and defender, and its special attack stat isn't too bad either. Its special defense and speed are its lowest stats, but read, that's still really good for most Pokemon standards because they're 90. Meanwhile, Primal Groudon gains an extra 30 physical attack, 20 physical defense, and 50 special attack, so it becomes a really good mixed attacker. Ability-wise, Groudon is the opposite of Kyogre. Its main ability is Drought, which summons Sunlight outright. Prior to Gen 6, it was a permanent one that would only be overwritten by something like Drizzle, but nowadays it's just effectively the same as Sunny Day. But Primal Groudon's ability is Desolate Land, which is effectively the inverse of Primordial Sea. It is a permanent harsh sunlight status that can only be overwritten by abilities of the same tier, effectively like Primordial Sea, that causes all damage-dealing water moves to completely fail. Which means that 4 times weakness to water seems scary given how common water type attacks and Pokemon are to fight. But when they're completely nullified in the attack portion, it doesn't matter as much. Primal Groudon definitely is, I think, the better upgrade to Primal Kyogre, even design-wise, because it even kind of reminds me of something from the Jirachi movie, I believe it was. But I ultimately prefer using Kyogre overall because it's just cooler looking with that said, since I tend to not use legendaries outside of just messing around with them here and again. I mostly am just here to really catch them, add them to the Pokedex, and, you know, save the world should it need to. Won't lie though, I've complimented a lot about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire soundtrack, as well as just the Hoenn soundtrack in general, even though the trumpets can be a little overbearing in the Game Boy Advance. I've never been a fan of too many of Hoenn's legendary battle themes. They're threatening, I'll give them that. But when you're actively just throwing Pokeballs over and over, waiting for them to work like that one just did, they really just get tedious to listen to compared to some of the other legendary themes in the series in my eyes. Kyogre, the Sea Basin Pokemon. Kyogre is said to be the personification of the sea itself. Legends tell of its many clashes against Groudon, as each sought to gain the power of nature. Alright, you almighty personification of the great ocean, get in the box! Kyle! It's really over, isn't it? Kyle, we owe you great thanks. Look above you. The sky over Sootopolis has returned to normal. The power which had been pooling within the Cave of Origin is now flowing back out into the world. It's so warm. Just now, my heart felt like it was about to be crushed by uncertainty and terror. But now it feels like it's been softly set at ease. The land or the sea. Humans or Pokémon. When we sought to bring happiness to only one, we nearly destroyed both. Now the world's balance is restored to its natural state. Perhaps this is the time we must reconsider our ideals. Do you not agree? Archie?
Yeah, you're right.
Maxie?
What you're saying is only natural. I know that.
But still, I can't just change. The world I believe to be ideal. The kind of world that I dreamed of making, where I could live alongside my beloved Pokémon. That hasn't changed. I know I've got nothing to stand on after causing this much hurt, but... That's right. You caused a big fuss there when you almost brought about the downfall of the world, you big dolt. No matter how much you beg, no one can forgive that. But do you really need their forgiveness, though? Even if you are a big dolt who no one in the world will ever forgive, I'll stay with you. I'll stay with you forever. So please, stop going out on your own and acting crazy. You're our Team Aqua's leader. And we're your friends, after all.
Shelly.
Sorry. And thanks. Huh. We adults have a duty to pass this world along to the next generation. A world worth passing along. What is it we truly need to do to create such a world? Take each other's hand in friendship, or fight for the right of supremacy? I think it is time we consider this again with our team members, and break down the wall between us.
Alright, you little scamp. You managed to use that red orb. So now let's see you try this on for size. If you give it to Kyogre, you should be able to control its primal reversion.
So do I have to return these to Mount Pyre? Because I kind of like them as shiny. Farewell.
See ya.
Team Magma and Team Aqua are made up of people with completely opposing ideals and goals. But perhaps even they can learn to meet halfway, one small concession at a time. I know it's too much to expect that everything will change at once, but I hope this crisis might at least help them take that first vital step forward. I imagine that many changes are happening now all across Hoenn. I hope you'll be able to travel this world and see its richness with your own eyes. And revel in its newness in your own heart. But for the present, you may first wish to challenge this city's Pokémon gym. There you'll find the very same Wallace who helped us so much waiting for you. He's strong, but the way you are now, you should be capable of battling him on an equal footing. And when you travel the world, you should use this. This flute is one of my favorite items. And thus we get the big late-game game changer. This Eon Flute is proof of the bond between you and your Latias. No matter how far you may be from one another, play that flute and Latias will surely fly straight to you. Then it can take to the sky, soaring above the land with you astride its back. Yes, just like when we first encountered Latios and Latias at Southern Island. People, Pokémon, nature itself. Our survival in this world depends on all of us living together in harmony. I feel I have just begun to understand that. And I'm wondering how the world will continue to change from this point on. It fills me with an inexplicable excitement. Kyle, as you and your Pokémon live and grow in this changed world, I wonder what effect it will have on you.
What will you think about? What ideals will you believe in? If we do get the chance to meet again, I hope you'll be able to show me and my team the answers you found. Until then.
Huh! And it's finally just the two of us again. So I've got to say, thanks for everything you've done for our region, Kyle. You know, I thought we were supposed to have set up from Little Root together, but you, Kyle? It seems like you just keep getting further and further ahead of me. I even started to feel like you'd gone somewhere that I can't even reach. It's pretty lonely, you know? Not. What would you think if I really said something like that? Anyway, you did something really amazing today, so try to take it easy for a while. See you later! And thus the world is saved, but we still got a good bit of the journey left to go. The Sootopolis Gym is our next destination, but we're not going to tackle that until next part. What remains today is mostly us going around Sootopolis and grabbing items, which, theoretically, I actively could have grabbed when I was first here in Sootopolis before we were forced to come here by plot. But in my head, it was ultimately probably a smoother experience to come over here briefly just to get it as a fly destination and then actively do the stuff here we needed to when we were actively here in the main game's flow. Sootopolis' setup is split pretty much down the middle, east-west. The eastern half is where the Pokémon Center and a majority of the items we're going to be grabbing are, but the western half is not only where the Cave of Origin technically is via accessibility, but it's also where the Pokémart is, as well as a couple of other smaller items. This house is a little bit interesting. The two brothers here, the fisherman and the hiker, they'll each give you a max elixir if you show them the Pokemon they're talking about with a Pokeame affection level of at least 4, be it a Barboach or a Shroomish. I'm personally not going to do this in this playthrough because I barely did that for my main party, so doing it for Pokemon that I don't have on my team normally, it would just be a little bit excessive. Mind you, like I said earlier in the episode when I described Pokemon Ame and the boosts that affection levels give you, I probably should have done it in the long term. It just kind of escaped my mind. In this house, you can get a Whalmer doll for your secret base that I may place in the secret base later on. I think I've returned it at least twice, but I ultimately don't do much with it. Worth noting, there's actively one note from Emerald Day again removed here from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire in this town. Namely, over in the Pokemon Center in Emerald, there's a move tutor who will teach one Pokemon on your team the move Double Edge once. If I haven't talked about that move yet, that is an extremely powerful, physically based, normal type move that deals damage, but then the user of the move takes damage equal to 1/4 the damage they dealt to the opponent. Which with certain beefy Pokemon like the Blissey line, Slacking, and all that, means you can do a lot of damage, but also you'll be using a lot of that HP stat pretty regularly in that case. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire still do have a move tutor here in town, though, but they teach a radically different move. It's the old man in this house. Specifically, if you have a Dragon-type Pokemon with high friendship and they can learn the move to begin with, he will teach them the move Draco Meteor, which is technically the strongest Dragon-type move. High power, but upon using it, the user's special attack stat is lowered by 2 stages. So it can make for a really good opener or maybe second move in a match, but if you spam that too much and they're a specially based dragon, you're gonna be running out of that attack stat real quick like. I have used it to good effect in the past, especially on certain legendaries that can be very funny to use. But given my dragon type in this specific playthrough is a physically minded, speedy Pokemon, something that's specially based like that isn't exactly the best option, so I'm just going to ignore it on this specific playthrough. Notably, on the southwestern corner of Sootopolis, there is a girl who will give you 2 berries randomly every day. I want to say it's about the same list of berries as the Berry Master over on Route 123. So again, if you're trying to actively do things with berries, be it plant them around, especially at the Berry Master's garden, make Pokeblocks for them for the contests, or even just use them as held items, these NPCs can go a long way to helping you build up a good collection to help make those things happen decently quickly. But again, I'm not really bothering with it too much on this playthrough, as I generally find more permanent held items more interesting to use than something that's gone after a single turn, barring the use of certain abilities like Harvest. Also worth noting, there's a Super Potion over here, which I've always found the placement of that one specifically odd, but I can't quite place why. Next up, I want to head back to the Pokemart, not to buy anything outright, but to finally actively get the item from the Pokefan I mentioned earlier this part with the backpack. Now that the weather's been cleared and Kyogre or Groudon's been captured, we can actively get the item from them. You there, you call yourself a fan? Then answer this. Who's the cutest idol in the world? Well, you were talking about Lizia, so Lizia. What? How dare you sound so unsure? And no true fan calls her by her real name. You have to call her by a nickname, Lissy. But at least you answered the question, right? I offer you this as a reward for being able to see the true attractiveness of our lovely Lissy. And we get the TM for infestation. This guy probably needs a shower. Either that or he's Salmonella from the First Ace Attorney. Infestation's a bit of an interesting bug-type move in that it does damage up front, of course, but then it acts a little bit like a leech seed, doing damage equal to, I think, like an eighth or a ninth of the target's HP per turn. But also it has the added effect of acting sort of like Arena Trap from the Trapinch's line abilities, where the Pokemon that's hit with Infestation cannot be switched out or escape, barring, I think, the use of abilities like Runaway. It can go a pretty good distance pretty quickly. I don't use it on this playthrough because I'm not even sure if any of the Pokemon on my team can actively learn it. And if they can, well, I had other priorities going on now, didn't I? Only a few things left to do before we go tackle the gym here. There's one other TM we can grab, but also there's a Mega Stone I was actually able to grab right after we finished the whole cutscene with Steven, May, and everyone else after catching Kyogre. I just forgot to until I did everything else in town because it was the last thing on my checklist. I've already mentioned it earlier, and I think the LP, I think, was the last part or so, but I really do appreciate Gen 3/Hoenn on for not only making the team plot usually have a bit more stakes going on, but making the box legendary actively matter to the plot adds a little bit of endearment in a way I can't quite parse how to word, but it makes me just really appreciate the legendaries more as entities rather than just being things you can find randomly on Victory Road or over in an abandoned power plant. Albeit there is a level of mystique to that I do kind of miss in some cases that they've kept with some legendaries, but not all. They really do adapt and refine that methodology for the plot moving forward, especially for the next, like, 2 gens. Then they take a step back a little bit, but then it's back in full force for, like, Gen 7 and all that, but I'll talk more about that as we go. So this black belt has the next TM we can get here. He's going to give us the TM for Brick Break. Brick Break is a decently powerful fighting move, but the big effect of it is if a opponent has things like Light Screen or Reflect going, it'll also completely destroy the buffs from those moves. So it's a good move to have around if you need a fighting type move that also does decent damage, because in case someone's being a little bit defensive, it gives you a way around that. The final item of note is a Mega Stone, and we need to go grab that. It's over by the Cave of Origin, in specific, the tree that we saw in the cutscene that Steven was kind of looking up at. We want to walk past it, and the Mega Stone will be past a bridge on the right, which is kind of, funnily enough, closer to where the Cave of Origin was in the placement of the town, at least, over in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Over here, we get this Sable Knight, so now you can access Mega Sableye, which, again, really good defender. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 24, we're going to go tackle the gym leader here in Sutopolis before taking a bit of a flight. See you guys then.